I can do it, but I appreciate the coaching. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started. So if you are on the panel, come up here. And if you are not, then sit on down. Because in the spirit of short form, we are not going to do any throat clearing. We're not introducing ourselves. We're just going to get into it. So I'm not going to try to convince you guys of this too much because you're already here. But I'm Sadie, and right now we are in a land rush for attention. The people who show up consistently on short-form video are planting flags and topics that used to belong to traditional experts and institutions. So if you leave your beat unattended, someone sloppier could slip in there and take it over. Short-form video, it isn't for everything. It's not the whole shebang. It's for discovery, trust, sampling, your expertise, etc. You're trying to use it as a funnel to get people to your other content, to your newsletters, to your live events, to your long-form stories, that kind of thing. And then these are some ground truths that I think that's, us science communicators really need to know about. We're in a conversation with our audience these days. It's not the old broadcast model. And you actually have to use the platforms you're on. You have to be on TikTok. I know, how many people here are on TikTok? Okay, great. All of you, if you really want to understand the platform, you have to use it recreationally. I know, I'm really sorry. You can have someone else do it for you, but that has to be done by someone. But I think the biggest thing for those of us who sort of grew up in the internet's earlier era, you don't have to be worried about being the main character of the internet for the day anymore like you used to. I worked at Express and we did a women's march where we did a big symbol that was the man symbol by accident. That was the internet's main character for the entire day, at least. And these days, you would have to do something truly spectacular to get everyone's attention like that. So that's the good news and the bad news. The new attention economy is truly brutal, and then short form is a good way to kind of learn how to deal with it. Just some basic things to know that we're going to cover and more later. You lose people in the first 2 seconds of your video. It is wild. You do not start your video with hi, I'm Sadie, I'm from the American Psychological Association, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. You have to start at the most interesting thing you have to say. Then you pull back, add a tiny bit of context, and you have 45 seconds for most kinds of videos. Let's see. And if I'm flying through these slides, because it's just too much information. So if you guys want to talk about it later, we'll have some questions at the end. And also you can always hire several of us as consultants if you want some help. Okay, now we're on to Kasha.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Kasha Patel. I'm a science reporter, formerly at the Washington Post, where I did a lot of videos that I'll show you here. On the side, I also do a lot of humor, and one big aspect of doing these short-form videos that I wanted to address is putting humor in them. That's just very different from what we normally see on corporate accounts or magazine news outlets accounts. And the biggest question that I get, the reason I wanted to do a whole separate slide on this is because people often come up to me and they say, well, I'm not funny, I don't want to be cringy, I don't want to come off as cheesy, how can I make this funny if it has to be funny? First of all, it doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be a joke every 3 seconds or whatever it might be. I think the most important thing to learn is just do what feels natural to you. If you are not that funny of a person, it's okay. I would just say work on your video presence and be a little more personable, like you're talking to a person. I have some examples here of ways that you can use humor. I said you don't need a joke every 3 seconds, but when I worked with Dave Jorgensen at the Washington Post, he's the TikTok guy, when I worked with him, he kind of had this format of just having one nice joke. And when I say joke, I mean like text form. But there's other ways you can also do visual gags, and I'll show you that here. And one thing that I think they did very well was also in the comments. So if you've ever gone to their TikTok, they would often have this running gag of we are a newspaper is what they would say, which is funny because it was just very ironic because they weren't being a newspaper, but everybody knew them as a newspaper, and people just kind of really got on board for that. So being funny in the comments as well, and then like I said, using your authentic voice. So we can go to, we can just play one of these. The first one?
Sure. Let's see.
Here's 50% of my carbon emissions.
I asked you to triple your carbon cutting budget. That's gonna need systemic solutions, dollface.
Well, what if I take one of these reusable bags to the grocery store?
Or you can incentivize businesses to decarbonize.
What if I unplug all my appliances while I'm not using them?
Or you could support research and development for zero emissions technology.
Well, what if I turn off the sink while brushing my teeth?
Throw them in the river.
But it's polluted.
So you can see there kind of at the it's very short, it moves pretty quickly, and up until throw them in the river and it's polluted, there's nothing terribly funny about it outside of like the costumes and things, which they will talk about the different formats. So that's one way to do it, and you notice like in a lot of videos, sometimes I'll just kind of keep a little kicker at the end. So that way when people understand that, they know the format and they know to wait for that. And then the second one is more of a visual gag.
Heat waves are going to get a lot worse as global temperatures rise. But how much worse? Let's take a look. Dave, we'll see events that used to occur on average once every 50 years increase in frequency and intensity. Today, heat waves are 5 times more likely to occur than they did in the pre-industrial era. At 1.5 degrees Celsius, heat waves will be 9 times more likely and 2 degrees hotter. Nope, sorry, you're also going through a drought. At 2 degrees Celsius, 14 times more likely and 3 degrees hotter. Oh yeah, your risk for fires has also gone up.
So that's a visual gag, and you can tell that because if you write out that script, there's nothing inherently funny with what we're saying. It's just all about how we're demonstrating it. So there are a lot of different ways that you can add humor in there, even if you're not a funny person, as you say.
Here's 50% of my carbon emissions.
Heat wave.
Go away. Okay, sorry. All right, so I thought that it would be helpful to give you guys some video formats that you can copy. And so we're going to go through a few examples. We've got this dialogue study explainer. Does anyone follow Anna Akana? She's great. And here we have her. Oops. Yes, you're right.
Dude, ever since Becca got into this new relationship, I haven't heard from her at all.
Oh my god, no. Color me surprised, Becca. Oh, no way. That's so unlike her. Bestie, you better tell her that friends may be better for her mental health than her partner.
According to a study
spanning 2 decades, nurturing friendship rather than dropping off the face of the planet once you couple up, Becca, is a consistent way to protect against depressive symptoms throughout life. However, romantic involvement is actually associated with increased depressive symptoms regardless of age.
I guess that makes
Okay, I'm just going to pause here for a second. As you can see, we've got one person very poorly playing 2 different characters just by changing her outfit and her voice. The music, there's a lot of good subtle stuff going on. The music started quiet, it got louder. We had a quick zoom in at the very beginning. So quick cuts, like every 3 seconds or so, is a good thing to do. And little sound effects are also sort of juicing it up to keep everyone engaged. So this is a heavy lift kind of one, but it's great and it did really well. All right. We'll try again.
sense. I mean, structurally, you can get your needs met across many different friendships, but in relationships, you're expecting one person to provide for all of your emotional needs, which kind of sets them up for failure, conflict, jealousy, disappointment.
Exactly. The study is titled A Longitudinal Analysis of How Romantic and Friendship Involvement Are Associated with Depressive Symptoms.
Ugh.
Science really needs to learn how to do a clickbait title because that is not engaging at all.
And that's why she didn't start with the title, right? Like she started right into the dialogue and just hooking people immediately. Okay, we'll go to the next type. Okay, this is a debunker. I feel like a lot of us just constitutionally could be good at this one. So basically it's a stitch. They show the original video and then the little person pops up and talks about why it's very dumb.
Evidence to make proof mermaids are real.
I feel like make proof is the perfect way to put this because that's what you have to do when something isn't true, is you have to make proof. But anyway, let's see what hard evidence she brings up here.
So here are some pictures of some skeletons that actually have been discovered over the years.
Oh Lord, give me strength. This is actually a real display at the Danish National Museum in Copenhagen. But guess what? It's not a mermaid skeleton. It was actually made by this artist in the year 2012 and is a permanent installation at the museum. So no to that one. What's next?
And here's another picture.
We're gonna do a little bit of a fan activity now, so I'm gonna show you guys another picture and you're gonna crack this case on your own. This is an excavation from a village in Ireland. This is a mermaid. Irish excavation, mermaid. Irish excavation, mermaid.
So I think this also is a great demonstration of if you channeling your sort of authentic self is very helpful. And I feel like a lot of us have learned not to bring our authentic bitchiest self to work. But if that is who you are, then just bring it out for your videos because people love to see personality. All right, and then other things to note is that the music is pretty goofy, and this is actually a really easy type of video to make. It's really, the apps these days can just immediately subtract anything you're standing. You don't even need a green screen, and you can just stick your head over any sort of background you want. Okay. Okay, this is a very classic newsreel, and it did okay, but we're gonna have an example that is way better right afterwards. But as you know, classic newsreels, we've got our voiceover, we've got our B-roll, we have our plinky newsreel music, that kind of thing.
Salmon on cocaine swim almost twice as far, according to a new study. The fish were exposed to benzoylecgonine, the primary chemical of the illegal drug cocaine, which is commonly detected in waste.
So just wanted to point out that we start out with text on the screen. That is a good practice because it immediately tells people what you're going to be giving them, and just giving people that context immediately that you normally might try to do by talking or something, like people can read quickly and understand what you're talking about. Also, this is a good topic, right? Salmon on cocaine, inherently interesting.
Salmon on cocaine swim almost twice as far, according to a new study. The fish were exposed to benzoylecgonine, the primary chemical of the illegal drug cocaine, which is commonly detected in wastewater. Researchers from Griffith University in Australia monitored 105 juvenile Atlantic salmon over 8 weeks in a Swedish lake and found they swam 1.9 times farther per week and dispersed up to 12.3 kilometers further across the lake. Cocaine is increasingly detected in rivers and lakes, and this study is the first to show how cocaine is impacting fish behavior in the wild. Researchers claim that if pollution is changing these patterns, it has the potential to affect ecosystems in ways we are only beginning to understand.
So this one is probably the heaviest lift for someone who's not coming from a video background. Every screen, even the still images, we're constantly panning. Again, this is pretty easy to do in modern editors, but the thing about short form video is often a good idea is more important than production values. So like Kasha and the marshmallows, that alone carried the whole video. So this is like a good format for scrappy people with like good ideas who want to just try them out immediately. Okay, and so here's another example of a person covering the same study. Oops.
Hey, did you hear this article that dropped on 420? Scientists gave cocaine to salmon. Oh yeah, that was a great paper. Yeah, I didn't know the sequel to If You Give a Mouse a Cookie was gonna be so... Wait, what? Was it really? Yeah, it's good science. Okay, but what's the point of doing that? Oh, there were lots, and the results weren't what the researchers were expecting, and also, cocaine actually wasn't the biggest issue for...
So one thing I really like about this is that one of his characters is representing the viewer, like the most sort of naysaying viewer that you can think of, and giving that character voice allows that person to immediately recognize themselves and keep watching, even if that's what they were thinking, like stupid, like if they hear someone else saying that first, they'll keep watching and they'll be like, oh, like what else do I need to learn?
For the salmon. Wait, what were they expecting? I mean, this isn't a thing. It's not like cocaine is one of the most commonly detected illicit substances in aquatic environments worldwide. What the fuck? To be clear, current levels of cocaine pollution, which is a very real phrase, aren't enough to affect humans. But for fish, even a very small amount can affect not just their behavior, but can accumulate in their bodies. And so, this actually isn't the first time we've given cocaine to aquatic animals, from krill to crayfish, to see how they react. And I've been informed by Scientific American I'm not allowed to share the photoshops I made of what that might look like. So,
okay, this is also a great dynamic to use. I think the Washington Post did this too, where you have the sort of sense of the stodgy institution and the creator in conflict. Conflict always is a great driver of drama. And you can actually like use actual conflict, like I bet this really happened. And it makes the video funny, it's relatable, and it gives this sort of glimpse into behind the scenes that modern audiences really appreciate. Oops, no, go back. I don't know how to do it. Did I do it? Okay.
hey, did you hear this article that dropped on cocaine? And the answer in this case are slow-release implants that can mimic the gradual accumulation they would experience in a highly polluted area. And also, where do you give a salmon cocaine? Because this is one of the first studies to actually look at this effect not just in captivity, but in the wild in this lake in Sweden. And as you might expect, the fish on cocaine tended to swim longer distances than the control group. But the researchers also tested a second chemical, benzoylecgonine, and when they gave...
So what is carrying viewers through these weeds, and like people watch this whole longish video, is his enthusiasm and also breathing. Like in general, for explainer videos, you want to be talking fast and be energetic and cut out pauses, like every pause. Like every time you breathe, you just have to cut out that little bit because you will lose hundreds of people just by breathing.
that to the salmon, they traveled almost 2 times as far. Not only did they double their swimming distance, this drastically changed their distribution in the lake. By using acoustic tags embedded in the fish, they were able to track their movements in the lake. And they found that while the control and cocaine group were distributed like this, the benzoylecgonine group looked like this. So you may be wondering, why were they looking at benzoylecgonine? What even is that? Well, it is the byproduct that is produced when humans metabolize cocaine. It is literally what urine drug tests check for. Wait. So, are you saying the problem isn't cocaine in salmon, it's that when humans use cocaine, their body changes the molecule, and then when that enters the water, it affects salmon and how they move and distribute in lakes in this interconnected web of biology and chemistry? Okay, you were right. It's a good paper. So from everyone here at Scientific American, this Earth Day, don't do cocaine. No, Tom, you can't say that. I understand I can't do the drawings, but I feel like this is, I mean, do you disagree? No, but the fact that you're mentioning it at all...
Such a good video. And I also just noticed that the only difference between his two characters was he was in profile and wearing a hat some of the time, which is, you know, pretty minimalist and very funny in and of itself. And yeah, I forgot what else I was going to say there. Let's go to the next one.
Hey, did you hear this article that...
Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to say. That one got about twice as many views as the newsreel, and I bet it was like easier to make, and you got so much more information. So I think that it's a good example of how personality really carries short-form video a lot of the time, not always. And having a face on screen in those first 2 seconds is absolutely crucial because, again, people want to see other human beings and they want to know sort of the person behind the creation. It's like this whole sort of authenticity. I don't even want to say aesthetic because the easiest way to do it is just to be genuinely authentic. Okay, let's see. Okay, does anyone know Astrid Lundberg? She's local. I think she's amazing, and this this is a type of video that I call a rant. So if you ever find yourself like at lunch, like with your colleagues being like super nerdy and just like talking about how lanternflies aren't really a problem or whatever, try to capture that energy, or even just like audio tape yourself in that moment or videotape yourself, not to actually broadcast it, but just to capture the structure of what you're saying when you're sort of performing for your friends, because I suspect that's what she did here, and it's an incredible video, and it had so many views. And it's just, and I also think another thing about authenticity is that if you can do your whole video in one continuous shot, people are impressed because they know that this is a rant that came from your soul.
Geology fact that never fails to give me full-body goosebumps is there is this thin gray line in the rock, where every continent, everywhere there is sedimentary rock of the appropriate age, there's a thin gray line in it. And below the line, in the rock just older than the line, there is this incredible diversity of life. Not only are there giant terrestrial reptiles, but there are swamps, there are forests, there are birds, there are insects, there's fuzzy little mammals, and above the line there is nothing. And the line is made of iridium. The line is made of an amount of iridium that doesn't occur on this planet. Imagine being the guys who put those pieces together. Not only was there this incredible, beautiful, diverse, vibrant alien world, except it wasn't alien because it was here, where we are right now, and then something ended it abruptly and violently, and that something came from outer space. You've heard a version of this fact before. There used to be non-bird dinosaurs and then they died out because a meteorite hit the Earth. How often, if ever, do you actually think about the end Cretaceous mass extinction? Did you know that it rained glass? Did you know that it was probably spring? And we know this because there is a fossil deposit of lake fish that died in the meteorite impact. We know this because in their last breaths, their gills took in these little solidified blobs of rock that were previously vaporized in the atmosphere by the force of this impact. In their last breaths, they took in these spherules from the impact, and in those same last breaths they took in pollen because flowers were blooming, because in the northern hemisphere it was springtime. Did you know that the sun went out for at least months, probably years? And also, there were birds. There were dinosaurs that were very closely related to birds, and also there were true birds, and probably none of these animals were doing the kind of cognition that, say, crows are doing. But also, almost certainly, something knew that the world was ending.
Isn't that great? So, I mean, not everyone can do this, but what I think is neat about this kind of content is that it is evergreen, right? She's just pulling together and synthesizing a lot of information that a lot of us already know, but she's telling it in this incredibly dramatic, sort of cinematic way where, you know, you have the big picture and then you're just going down to like the individual animal. It's so cool. You're breathing glass. It's terrifying. Okay, now, so far we've done a lot of videos that are people talking head kind of videos, but that's not the only kind of video you can do. And I know a lot of us have really stunning visuals, especially these days in biology. And visuals can often tell the whole story with screen text. So if you are not someone who wants to put your face on camera and you can't find someone else in your office to do it, you can still be involved in short form video. And Austin's going to show us some examples.
Good. Hi everyone, my name is Austin Graff, and I am not a science writer, so please don't kick me out of today's session. What I do, so my whole life, my whole career, I've been in social media. Not to date myself, but I'm one of the first social media managers out there. I led social media for a large human rights organization, and then for a big part of Coca-Cola Company before joining the Washington Post, and did a variety of jobs there, but I helped launch what's called By the Way, which is the newer travel section of the Washington Post, and I helped cover the city online, the city of DC. And I don't like showing my face on camera, so I rarely do that. And I'm on all the platforms, but because I'm a millennial, I'm mainly on Instagram. And I'm a photographer by trade as well, and so I begrudgingly was pulled into Reels when they became a thing. When Instagram was first started, it was just photos. And hesitated for a long time until finally I was like, you know what? I need to like take all this great data of like what makes a great video, but really make it work for who I am authentically. And that meant not showing my face on camera for obvious reasons. And so what I decided was I love shooting video. And so why not help tell stories in very short form using hopefully beautiful video clips with just text on screen and more details in the caption. And most of the time it works, which is great. And so one example is, so again, this is not science related, but I like to cover, I often explore every single neighborhood in DC, so I try to find these kind of very niche stories that might be familiar, but people may not know the actual details. So one example of that is the empathy signs. If you have been in DC, you might have seen these empathy signs all over the whole DC area, really. There's thousands at this point. And I befriended the man who's behind these signs, who wants to remain anonymous. People call him Charlie, but that is not his name. But let's go ahead and watch it real quick. And so as you can see, it's super short. And again, you don't see my face or hear my voice at all. And the reason why this works was, one, the kind of cover image and then the text on screen, it taps into the familiar. So a lot of people, if they live in the DC area, they have most likely have noticed these signs, but didn't actually know the details behind it. And so right away, they started to engage with this video. And that's really important when it comes to the algorithm across all platforms. The platforms are gonna most likely help share your video content to people who don't already follow you if it is most engaged in the first few minutes. And so right away, people started viewing this, they started sharing it, saving it, liking it, and then commenting as well, which helped it get in front of a lot more people, and currently it has hundreds of thousands of views. And then also it's super short, honestly. I work directly with Meta quite often, and they always recommend videos to be pretty short. You can, of course, have over like a minute, and sometimes that works, but to really catch people's attention, to Sadie's point, is you need to do that in the first few seconds. And so reels that often go kind of viral are pretty short, so this is under 15 seconds. And then but then I kind of see your audience as kind of a funnel. So the most people that are going to see it are at the top of the funnel. So they're kind of scrolling through Instagram in this example, and they're going to hopefully read the text and kind of stop and watch most of that video. That's like the top of the funnel. And then as they go down to be more engaged with it, the middle section is going to actually read your caption. And that's where it's important to kind of go into the details. And then those that are really engaged are going to leave a meaningful comment, not just like an emoji, but an actual like question or comment, and engage with it in a meaningful way. And those are your like really your target audience. And it's helpful to know your audience and who they are. So in my case, a lot of people follow me because they want to kind of see the off the beaten path of DC, hear these human stories of interesting places, not just in the few popular neighborhoods in DC, but in all like 136 plus neighborhoods in DC. And it's a lot of fun to create. And again, I'm rarely in front of the camera. And so I really challenge you all to really find what works for you and just like try to perfect it, take all the actual science behind what makes a video work, but really make it authentic to you, because you want it to be sustainable, to be consistent is one of the most important things. And if it's not authentic to you, you're gonna lose steam real fast, and then you're just gonna go silent.
Great. And I'm going to put Austin on the spot here, because now we're moving on to examples of videos that didn't work. Let's see.
Explaining chemistry in fields. Today's lesson.
There we go. Okay. I think it's this one.
Pastel sweaters, gentle vibes, living life without the drives that tell you hustle, push and grind. I'm soft girl.
Okay, why do you think that one didn't work?
Yeah, so this one, the one you just saw, the empathy sign one, has just under like 400,000 views. This one has like just over 10,000 views, so significantly fewer. And the reason why I think it didn't work was, one, it's like it's too niche. It's helpful to kind of take out, to assume your audience knows very little or nothing, and so kind of start with that and then take them through that funnel. And so this started right off the bat. It was too niche. It was very family focused. I have a 9-year-old daughter who's amazing. And, but she was the one that really wanted to go to this workshop. I would not obviously go to this workshop on my own. I'm not interested at all in that. And so I think some of the passion was gone in it as well. And then I tried to tell too many stories in this reel. So it wasn't just about the fact that the Strathmore in Rockville has these amazing kind of family-focused workshops, but I also tried to tell that they have a gallery inside, and they also are a music hall. It was too much information. It was too long to keep people engaged.
Yeah, and I'm a long-form writer, and I love braiding all sorts of ideas and juxtaposing ideas into written stuff, and I have had to learn to really boil down ideas to their very essence, and that's actually been kind of a cool exercise, because you can only get one idea in a short video.
And I will also say, like, to keep it super quick too, especially the format that I use, they're just like a lot of clips strung together. And actually my editor at the Washington Post kind of pushed me to do this because I did a lot of voiceover reels, for better or worse. You all hear my voice now. And he always encouraged me to be like super, super quick. And when I was recording it, it sounded like I was talking too fast, but it actually sounded slower on camera. And then same with the video clips. And that one, I think I drug out the clips a little bit too long versus in most reels that do well for me, each clip is under 0.8 seconds, which is super fast, but it works on social media.
So just to be fair, I'm going to show a very bad video I made. I was positive it was going to kill because I put my friend, who's very cute, in a bikini in the video, and she's reading a passage from my book about herself, right? So that's drama. But, well, I'll tell you what all the things that don't work. But this is, be kind, this is terrible.
Friends reading what I said about them in my book.
My friend Miriam is one of the first friends to visit me in West Virginia. A tiny, energetic, part-time burlesque dancer. Miriam is usually a ray of sunshine. Today, however, she's a gray storm cloud.
You sound like you're reading the children.
Heavy with rain. What's wrong, I asked.
Okay, so I was just like trying to do visual interest with like weird filters. Don't recommend that. Let's see what else I did stupid.
Am I being roasted? I still can't stop thinking about Thad, she says. Real person, name has been changed. I give her a big hug, but inwardly I'm groaning. Why is she still obsessing over this guy? He wasn't that great to begin with, and they broke up more than a year ago. But did you see his biceps, though? Like the biceps. It was so hot. They're very, very bicep-y.
Anyway, clearly Miriam's not the problem. I think we could redo this and do it better, but just thought I would share a terrible video I made. All right, now we're moving on to, oops, I've forgotten your name, I'm so sorry. What's your name again? Elaine. Elaine from Chemistry Land.
Yeah. Hi, Elaine from Chemistry Land, AKA ACS Reactions. So I'm going to talk about why the first 3 to 5 seconds are so important and how you can really utilize that. And if you look at our metrics here, these are from 2026. This is our channel, this is our data. We've had 29 million views this year, and our stayed to watch is 88%. That means when someone starts watching our video, 88% of people stick around, and that number's insane. It's really, really high, and you know, you want people to stick around to your video because you want them to watch it. That is one of the most important metrics, and that number, all these numbers, you know, they kind of correlate. It's not everything, there's click-through rate and everything, but staying to watch is the most crucial thing that you want to accomplish here. Get the next slide.
Yes.
And how you accomplish that is you fail a lot. If you look at these metrics here, I'm pulling up my slides here so I can see it and not turn around. These are our metrics from 2023, which is the very first year that YouTube Shorts came out. And if you look at that number, it's 72.7. So we put a lot of time, effort, thought, energy into how we keep people around. That first 3 to 5 seconds, you need to have it. And we've tried many things. You're gonna fail a lot, and every single time you fail, you're gonna learn something, and we've learned from that. And we kept trying new things until we found things that worked. And then even once we found things that worked, we still kept trying new things because many, many things work. And one of the things that, you know, is really, really crucial is you pay attention. You look at this data, you look at these metrics, because your audience is literally telling you through the data what they like, what they don't like, what they respond positively to, what they don't respond well to. And we watch all of our videos analytically every Monday, and this is something everybody can start now. We have a 15-minute meeting where we watch YouTube Shorts. We go into an incognito tab, and we just search chemistry on Shorts, and then we watch what comes up, and whoever is in control will, swipe away when they're not interested. And then we have we have a discussion about all of these videos, what we liked, what we didn't like, when we swept away, why we wanted to watch. And also, a lot of the times, our videos will come up in that, and it's just, you get to view your own videos as a consumer. And doing that is also really crucial because you're making this content for people to be watched by people. And I think it's just really important that you watch your own content and figure out what's doing, and also being aware of what else is going on, what you like, what you don't like, and why. Get the next slide. Okay, this is an example of one of our first videos from 2023. I don't think it's that strong, and from here on out, I'm gonna be asking you guys questions about what you think is working, why it's not working. But I'm just gonna show you this one, the first 3 to 5 seconds, and then you're gonna—
CO2 is not a blanket, and it does not absorb heat like one. If it did, all the CO2 in the atmosphere would already—
Okay, this is where we started. Can we get the next slide? And now these are the 3 biggest videos that we have on our channel. And I want you to think about those first 3 seconds in contrast with these first 3 seconds. And the first 3 to 5 seconds of these, I want you guys to think about what we are doing, what we are not doing. Everything is intentional. What is working for you? Why would you want to stick around and watch this video? Why wouldn't you want to stick around and watch this video?
Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's a different way we're supposed to play these. Some of them are different.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These are—
This is a soft gel. It's a pill made of gelatin that is super hard and durable when it's dry. But if you drop it in some water, magic happens. First of all, look at how this lettering just falls right off. It's weirdly satisfying. Then water enters the gelatin, which causes this soft hot dog swell. When this reaction is seen of the soft gel, and this white stuff slowly spills out. It looks like this battery. Now, if you cut open a pill and scoop out the insides, you'll see that they're not temperature. They're clear. This goopy stuff is a mixture of polyethylene glycol and water, which is far better at dissolving most drugs than water is by itself. The drug in water. I matched the voltage of the lithium battery, but it was taking a while, so I cranked up the voltage a bit. And now,
this is not even enough static to give me a shock.
But it was look what is happening at the negative terminal. The ham
I actually had to break out my
is
HVAC
getting
anti-static
translucent, which
device
means
to
whatever's
calm
happening here
things
is
down. Look at what
eating
happens when I
away
add
at
some
the
water.
flesh.
The hexagons
And this damage
don't
is
go
happening
inside
without
the
a battery
droplet.
even
They
being there,
adsorb to
which
its
means
surface.
it cannot be
They
caused
coat
by
it.
a battery
and it means that their
leaking.
motion is
It turns out what's
restricted
actually
to
happening—
what is basically 2 dimensions. That's why you can get a perfect
This is a
because the hexagons all fit
soft
together
gel.
very
It's a pill
snugly.
made of gelatin.
These things are light enough that they don't break the surface tension of—
Okay, it's like whack-a-mole. All right.
All my other slides.
This is a soft gel. It's a pill made of gelatin that is super hard and durable when it's dry. But if you drop it in some water, magic happens. First of all—
So what are we doing in these first 5 seconds? Nailed it. We started off with our absolute strongest video, or visual. Yep. So, all absolutely true. We started with the coolest visual we have, and since you're a little bit unsure of what that potentially is, we have that wording. This is an ibuprofen pill, so you are immediately grounded in this visual that could be a little bit you're not sure of. And also a thing we did with that, it's something that you're not really gonna see in your every day-to-day life. And that's one thing that Reactions likes to focus on and do, is showing things that you don't necessarily see all the time. And that video has, I think, over like 20 million views between all the platforms. Can we get the next video?
is the electrical current is splitting water molecules apart. Electrolysis. This releases hydrogen ions, also known as acid.
Yes.
This is a button battery, and this is a hot dog. And this reaction could seriously injure or even kill a child if they swallow the battery. Now, it looks like this battery is short-circuiting and burning the hot dog, but look at the temperature. It's not. Maybe the battery is leaking, and that's causing a chemical burn? Let's test that with a power supply, 2 electrodes, a piece of ham, and some salt water. I matched the voltage of the lithium battery, but it was taking a while, so I cranked up the voltage a bit. And now, we wait. Oh my God, look what is happening at the negative terminal. The ham is getting translucent, which means whatever's happening here is eating away at the flesh. And this damage is happening without a battery even being there, which means it cannot be caused by a battery leaking. It turns out what's actually happening is the electrical current is splitting water molecules apart, electrolysis. This releases hydrogen ions, also known as acid, at the positive terminal, and hydroxide ions, also known as base, at the negative terminal. And I verified that with pH paper, as you can see here. Look at that. Look at this. This is pH 3, 4, and this is pH 11, 12, 13. That is striking. Acids coagulate tissues, and so that gunk forms kind of a protective barrier against further damage. So you can see that the damage here on the acid side is not that bad. But bases dissolve tissues, which means that if I just let this go longer, it would have eaten all the way through the ham. The hydroxide ions generated at the negative terminal could burn through a child's esophagus, and that can be...
Yeah, we make longer shorts. But if you notice the very first 3 to 5 seconds, this is a hot dog and this is a battery. It's a visual and a juxtaposition that you don't expect coming. And that's probably going to pique people's interest. And then the next thing we go is, here's a car battery and some ham. And you're like, what on earth is happening? So George wrote that. We made that together. But it does a really great job of just setting this up, having an absurd visual. And another thing that we've noticed in our videos is that people don't like to see their faces. People like to see really engaging visuals, which is why George brought out a battery and ham and a battery and a hot dog, because it's much more engaging than someone saying, like having a face being like, I'm going to take a battery and I'm going to take a hot dog. Like, people want to see these visuals. They're looking for really engaging visuals. Could we get the next one?
The scientist who invented these tiny little disco balls sent me some of the pieces to play with. These are the building blocks, tiny plastic hexagons made by...
All right, what is something that would make you stay to watch this video? I love it, yeah. It starts out with this visual of something weird, and then it kind of grabs you, it shows the research, and then George is like, I'm gonna play with them. I think that it worked really well for us. That one has like 15 million views, I think. That one came out this year. Also, the watch battery video, there's a follow-up coming out this week. Stay tuned for reactions. For my next slides, you know, a lot of the times you hum up with a short and you're like, we can do this better. And these are my examples. I'm gonna show you where we started and then where we changed, then the final version. And if this is all about in the first 5 seconds, so.
I have made and consumed so many holographic foods today, and they are mostly butter and sugar, and I do not feel good. You demanded more holographic foods, so here's what I tried. Candy dipped strawberries. Yes. I have made and consumed so many holographic foods today, and they are mostly butter and sugar, and I do not feel good. You demanded more holographic foods?
Do you want to do it again?
I just wanted the one and then the other, but.
Oh, okay, yeah, you didn't want them in parallel?
No.
I have made and consumed so many holographic foods today, and they are mostly butter and sugar, and I do not.
So in the first 5 seconds, I'm just like, I made that first version. I'm just like, I'm showing I switched it up, so we started with the strongest visual first. The second one, the visual is the holographic icing. You could show that. But
I have made and consumed so many holographic foods today, and they are mostly butter and sugar, and I do not feel good. You demanded more.
The audio is the exact same. The only thing changed is that I put the most compelling visual up front. And this video did pretty well, but it's also just like looking at your content, realizing, oh, I have a stronger visual I can put here. Let's put it there. Next slide.
This Coke is kosher, meaning it has the American Coke flavor profile, but it's sweetened with...
So I made a very subtle change on this one, and I think it's a lot more grasping. And honestly, my coworker suggested that I do this as like a joke, and then despite him, I did it, and it really, really worked.
Oh.
This Coke is kosher, meaning it has the American Coke flavor profile, but it's sweetened with cane sugar.
And it just grabs you. It's just something about it that's natural. Just push through this text. You start looking at the text, and then it just kind of brings you into this video. Because the one without it, sure, it's fine. But if you have that like little extra something, it's just a little bit more produced. It looks a little bit more professional. It's just more grabbing. Because you don't necessarily have to look professional, but that is just a grabbing thing that comes out you, pops into your face.
This is an iron liquid marble. It's a tiny droplet of water, just plain old water.
Did you want to stop there? Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. So this is the very first draft. I made this. This was footage that we had, so I had to scale it up. But here we changed the, we went from that to this.
No one has ever made these things before, but I'm going to show you how, and it's remarkably easy.
Now, which one is more engaging? George telling you exactly what you're looking at, or George saying, no one has ever made this before, and I'm going to tell you how. It's just getting people in, getting people excited. I remember making this and being like, George, this beginning, this intro is a little flat. Like, we need something else. I don't really want to hear you describe this thing. And then he switched it up to, okay, this has never been made before, and I'm going to show you how to do it, because it just brings you in more. It just makes it more inherently cool when you think about, this is something that's never been done before. What is this? What am I even looking at? Like, what is going on? And then he gives you the access, being like, and I'm going to tell you how to do this.
I'm pouring 250 milliliters of Everclear with yellow food coloring into it, on top of 250 milliliters of water.
This one is also, well, you'll see.
I'm going to show you how 250 plus 250 can equal 485. This is 250 mils of Everclear sitting.
Again, the exact same visual. It's just, I watched this, I'm like, George, I don't want you to tell me what you're doing because I see you doing it. You don't need to tell me. I already know. We need to start off what this video is about. It's the really cool fact that 2 plus 50 plus 250 equals 485, and that should not be possible. What is going on here? So you start off with, you know, it's a fine visual, but you get into what the crux of this is, what the coolest thing about this video is. Get up, right at the front, what the cool thing is, and you're gonna get more views that way. People are gonna stick around. They're gonna be like, oh my God, I have to know like what on earth is happening. How is that possible? So just always front load your videos with the coolest visuals and the coolest information, and that's gonna go a ways for you with keeping people watching your videos. I think there might be one more. Yeah.
I made coffee bots. These are magnetized coffee grounds originally thought up by George Mason University scientists to try and clean.
You can play the next one.
These things are going to let us remove contaminants with magnets. But I think I might have figured out something better. These are.
Thank you. Yeah, the visuals were switched and the script was switched because we're like, we can do this better. We need to lean into what the cool thing is that we're talking about. These things are gonna clean up the environment. And then Alex makes them. But it's just all about having that angle, getting people hooked, making them want to really stick around and watch this video. And then, you know, you have the rest of the video. The 3 to 5 seconds, that's the most difficult thing. You're gonna have to really put in work. And then once people are already sold in, they're more likely to stick around than to swipe away. You really have to hit them hard in that first 3 to 5 seconds and really make sure you're putting out something that is like undeniable. You have to watch it.
Great. Well, just a quick thank you to everyone. We got Elaine from Chemistry Land, Austin from DC Land, and Kasha, newly from CNN Land.